Welcome to PNRShow Season 5, Episode 7, Landing Kubrick in the Henhouse. Maybe.
I'd rather have lager than life. I'll take a strong stout over strife. I prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than life.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Internet. From whatever time zone you happen to be listening to, you've tuned in to probably the greatest podcast ever created. This is the Pint of No Return show, the show where three guys from all corners of the country, I guess it wouldn't be corners because it's only three of us. It's like triangle. The points.
It's
all triangular points of the
Still
country.
have corners.
Yeah. Get together over a beer and chat about it and whatever comes into our tiny little lizard brains. We are in our 5th season, and this is episode 7. You got to go back and listen to the first, I don't know, how many episodes are we into now? 60-some
If you're new, if you're just discovering us, stop right now because you can't possibly continue for all the back history you've missed. Stop and go back.
Wait a minute, we're actually getting rid of viewers then. They're not going to go back and listen to. No, you're fine.
Okay, so it's all news.
Start here. This is okay. This can be episode 0 or 1 for you. Perfect. So what this is me, Rob, Keith, and Gary get together over a beer, and basically I start talking until Gary and Keith say, "Please, we need to drink." That's really why Gary's here and Keith are here. I'm here just for chat. Yeah. So we've got Keith in New York, Gary in California, and I'm in Texas. And what we want to do this evening is go to our good friends at the HenHouse Brewing Company, and we're going to be drinking Kubrick's Landing, an IPA. And Kubrick's Landing is Santa Rosa, California, and this is Gary's neck of the woods. In fact, Gary sent us these beers to try. So, Gary, you know anything about Kubrick's Landing or HenHouse Brewing? We've done HenHouse in the previous show, but maybe people haven't heard before.
They're a local brewery, and they're really good. They're making a lot of really good IPAs right now, doing lots of different. It seems like an IPA a week, which I know Rob doesn't like. And this is one of them that they canned. And I have actually had it because I got impatient and decided to drink one of the cans before the show because we were taking so long. But anyway, this is an IPA. The name, there's a long description on the can, but it's basically a play on faking the moon landing and having Stanley Kubrick direct it. The fake Apollo 11 moon landing. So it's kind of a nod to that. The beer itself has Mosaic, Motueka, Mandria, Bavaria hops. Is that right? Mandarina. God, I guess I'm getting old because I can't read small print anymore. This is about 3-point type on the back of the can. And we were supposed to drink it within 21 days, and it was bottled.
Well, that's how long it's been since our last show.
Yeah. So we're a little bit past the prime on this one for the hoppy IPA beers. I'm sure it'll still be good. But HenHouse is great. They just opened a barrel, what they call Palace of Barrels, in what used to be Petaluma Hills Brewing. That Petaluma Hills went out a while back because they weren't making very good beer. And HenHouse moved in, and so they opened their satellite location, which is cool because they're kind of moving back to Petaluma. They started in Petaluma, moved to Santa Rosa to expand, and now have opened the second brewery tasting room in Petaluma again. And they're gonna do all barrel aged types of things there. Although they serve a lot of beers, IPAs and stuff on tap. So my wife and I went there on opening day, and it was awesome.
3 different kinds of hops.
3 different kinds. Yeah, I totally bumbled the names of those hops, except for Mosaic. I got that one right.
Say Mosaic, Motueka, and Mandarina, Bavaria.
Yeah, those are pretty exotic.
All right.
Not your standard West Coast mix.
Yeah.
What say you? Let's get to the beer. because Gary's middle name is Patient. Wow, this is a cloudy, dirty beer.
Yeah, they're brewing a lot of like those East Coast hazy IPAs, and this is one of their many. It's kind of a popular, trendy IPA style right now. Everybody seems to be brewing.
I actually have. I mean, I have particles in my beer in the head. Do you all?
Could it be? No. I don't. Mine's been in the fridge for 2 months.
I'm sure this glass was cleaned. I've got like little bits on the top of the head.
Yeah, I think that maybe that's a result of shipping.
Sure, we'll say that.
Maybe not being so new.
Maybe. Boy, those hops are whoo. That citrus hop
nose on there.
Boom.
Mm. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So what you got here is, like I said before, very, very cloudy, almost like if you were to pour a glass of pineapple juice, like pure pineapple juice, not from concentrate. It's that kind of cloudy yellow color.
Yeah.
Got that very tiny, light, frothy head on the top.
Mine
and really has that citrus hops just jumping right off of it. So we got 7.2% alcohol by volume. And gentlemen, are you ready to drink?
I've been ready.
Let's do this. All right. HenHouse Kubricks Landing. Prost. The moon landing was fake. Oh.
You know, I've been sick for the past 5 days. A coworker from out of town came in and sat right next to me in the office and said he was sick. First thing he said, and so of course I got sick. So I haven't had a beer for like 6 days, and my taste buds are still not quite back, and I'm still a little bit out of it in terms of the coldness. But
well, this will clear those sinuses.
Man, what a great way to come back to drinking beer.
Man, oh man. Whew.
Yeah, Rob loves it, I can tell. I'm going to look and see what I rated it on Untapped previously, since, like I said, I drank the first can when it was a little bit fresher than this one, and I wasn't sick. So, what's it called?
So, this is one of those beers. We've had beers in the past where you smell a lot of hops in the scent, and then when you drink it, it's like, where did they go? This does not suffer from that problem. This smells of hops and tastes basically only of hops. I mean, I get nothing but hops when I taste this beer.
There's some hops in there.
It's interesting. The alcohol level is almost double IPA range.
Yeah.
But it drinks a lot smoother. It definitely feels like a mouthfeel like a regular IPA. So I think they named it right. Balance is very good on it, I think. You know, as Rob would say, balancing the hops against the other hops. I think they're pretty good.
There's nothing here. Yeah,
there's nothing else to balance.
That's the only balancing that's happening. There's no balancing against any kind of regular beer flavor.
No, it's a hop. It's a hop soda.
Hops.
Yeah, it's very hoppy.
Yeah, it doesn't have that malty backbone to it.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm missing. Like the double IPAs have so much more rich malt to go with it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times in the IPAs, I kind of miss that. But this is pretty clean and approachable, I feel, for an IPA.
So I will say, and you know, if you have any kind of a history with this show, you know that I really do not care for hops whatsoever. But
Rob,
I agree.
Everybody's starting from this show now, right?
So if you didn't know that, generally IPAs are, and any of those beers with lots of hops are kind of my nemesis. I just don't care for them. It's not a taste that I enjoy at all. So I mean, for Keith and Gary, that just means that I don't know beer. So blah blah blah. Anyway, I will say I agree though with Keith that while this is nothing but hops, gentlemen, ladies out there in the internet world, this beer is nothing but hops. Having said that, I agree with Keith that it is It blends pretty well for those hops, and it's very smooth. And I agree with Keith; it's very crisp, and finishes nicely for what it is. So I can appreciate. This is one of those beers when I can appreciate it for what it is. I don't necessarily care for it, but it's I understand where it's going, and I admire it for what it's doing.
I admire it for what it's doing as well, very much. So
we'll admire it for what it's doing to the two of them at the end of the show.
So yeah. It's it's a good beer. This is I would say this is very typical of what HenHouse is doing with their different IPA styles they're experimenting with.
Yeah.
I like this one. If you like this one, then pretty much any IPA that they're brewing right now, you should pick up. There's going to be a lot of similarities.
Yeah. So we'll revisit this this beer and our impressions of it, and towards the end of the show, we'll give us a rating based on a scale of 1 to 10. Keith. And
wait, 1 to 10?
Yeah,
1 to 10.
1 to 10. And you'll hear from us later on whether or not this is a beer you should think about picking up. I'm assuming it's not widely distributed. Probably.
No, I don't even think it's still available. Maybe it is. I haven't seen it around in the stores, and it was not on tap at the Barrel House.
Yeah. So yeah, Kubrick's Landing, Stanley Kubrick. It mentions 2001: A Space Odyssey, which interestingly enough, I saw an article this week about how many of the themes and technologies that they introduced in that movie are basically still true and right on the money today. I thought that was interesting. Still one of my favorite films of all time. If you've never seen 2001, it's a journey. It's not a sprint. You have to go on a journey with that movie. But it's well worth it.
I watched that with my oldest daughter when she was in high school, and she still hasn't forgiven me
for watching 2001. I'm of the mind you have to be past a certain age or to really enjoy it and really understand it. More importantly, I think it helps if you were born.
Are you supposed to understand it? I mean, it's
that kind of absolutely. No. I'm still figuring out new things about it. But if you were like a child of the space age or immediately after, like we were, it's a very, very thought-provoking film, and I think there's still a lot in there that you can get out of it.
Okay.
And if you do a 2001 and Close Encounters like double bill, now you're getting deep into alien films. So, anyway, that being said, let's go into a topic that we have for this evening. I thought we should be topical and talk about the Facebook, as it was originally called. Facebook is on trial this week, specifically Mark Zuckerberg. He was before a House investigating committee, Senate. It was a senatorial investigation committee about the corruption of data, user data, with what the name of the group just flew out of my brain.
Cambridge Analytica.
Thank you. Cambridge Analytica, which was uncovered, kind of gathered this data from third-party apps on Facebook and then used it in part for research for the Trump campaign.
And other campaigns.
Yes. I was about to say that this kind of came to light and everybody is up in arms because the Trump campaign has done this, but it's the Obama campaign did it. They just called it something else. It was a different company. This is nothing new, but it's now in the headline. So Zuckerberg was up there testifying before the Senate committee and was being grilled basically by both sides, which is nice to see. It's nice to see some bipartisanship.
Gaming up on Facebook.
And I've seen bits and pieces. I haven't watched entire sessions. I don't know if you guys have.
I haven't watched any of it.
But I was struck by a couple of things. First of all, how many senators actually know nothing about the internet.
That is not a shock.
Like nothing about the internet.
It's so embarrassing.
The second thing was I was both impressed and dismayed by how kind of open Zuckerberg was to answering questions. He didn't couch his answers very often. He was not apparently afraid to say I don't know, and he was not either afraid or embarrassed to say, you know what, no, we shouldn't have done that, and we were wrong to do that. But it kind of was dismaying that he didn't either know or realize that these things were going on amongst his reviewers, at least in my impression, about censoring different outlets and hate speech and all that kind of thing. So I've set that all up for you at a nice pretty bow for Gary, you and Keith to kind of go at it. What were your impressions, if you have any at all, of the Facebook issue and Zuckerberg's testimony this week?
I haven't watched or seen any of the testimony. I've seen a couple of headline article, like you read like intro paragraph. So I haven't done a lot of research into this. I mean, obviously I'm aware it's happening, but based on what you said, if he is actually willing to say, I don't know, and yeah, we made mistakes, that's probably something that people in Washington aren't used to, because everybody tries to phrase their answers in ways to talk around the issues, and he's just being sort of straight up. So I got a lot of issues and a lot of problems with Facebook and how they handle personal data, but I gotta have a little bit of admiration for him for not trying to be a lawyer about this and just answering the questions. I mean, if he doesn't know, he should say, I don't know. And he does.
Yeah, he was sitting up there at that table all by himself. He didn't have a lawyer sitting next to him. It was just him.
I mean, I mean, he's still a fairly young guy. If I had to go sit in front of a Senate subcommittee panel, in national spotlight, I would piss myself.
Right.
So, I mean, I got to give him a little bit of credit for not trying to be a politician, not trying to dance around the issues. He's just giving answers. So, from that aspect, it's good. I'm gonna let Keith talk a little more.
Yeah, Keith,
then I'll get into my gripes.
Well, I need to kick off my commentary with my favorite meme of the week that's come out of this, which is the classic picture, the now classic picture of Zuckerberg sitting in front of Congress with almost a frown on his face, just looking more serious than he's ever looked before. And the caption of the meme is that moment when you realize the app you made to rate girls in college just installed a corrupt government.
That's right. Yeah.
And that kind of really sums up the whole thing for me really well. I haven't, like Gary, I haven't had a chance to really dive deep into this. I've been very busy doing a bunch of other stuff lately. And so I've only kind of seen headlines go by on Flipboard and stuff like that. And so I've got a feel for the summary of it. But for the most part, on a personal level, it doesn't really affect me that much, because mostly what I do on Facebook is photos. And if they can take my photos and somehow translate that into somebody getting elected, then God bless them. Go for it. My photo of my children elected Trump. Okay. At this point in my life, I feel like they deserved it. Yeah, I think so. I think that's what I'm getting at here is, Charlie and Belle, this is really your fault. You're awfully cute, and it's probably your fault for both Trump being elected and Brexit. So
and as we mentioned before, and Obama being elected, because the same thing, they couched it in much more flowery terms about using data in revolutionary and new ways. Well, this is what they were doing. They were getting data through third-party apps and using it to do targeted ads and announcements to you. It was the same exact thing. It's just now it's been uncovered and discovered.
It hasn't even been discovered. I mean, it's been going on all along, and anybody who knows anything about Facebook knows that this is exactly what all those little add-in ads do.
All those little quizzes,
all those little quizzes and stuff. They get
tree
little,
are you?
Yeah, all that stuff just kind of, you knew that data was going somewhere, and if you didn't think it was going to end up in the election somehow, you're just kidding yourself.
Well, not only
watch any political TV show from the last 20 years, and they'll tell you that's part of the plot.
Right. But not only all the quizzes that you take, or all the personality checks that you take, but anytime somebody shares an article that's linked to a news source, you click on it and open it, and it's registered. Oh, this person likes that news. Well, maybe they'd like this. And it's part of how Facebook. Well, obviously it's how Facebook operates, but it's part of what they strive to make it more of an intuitive social media platform. It kind of evolves out of what you put into it. You have the opportunity to turn off those third-party apps to close out that data.
You don't really have, if you're on there, you don't really have that opportunity. I don't think the issue right now before Congress is that Trump got elected, or how.
Well, it's not the only issue, but it is an issue. Don't fool yourself. It is an issue, please.
It's an issue, but it's not so, I don't know. To me, it's not so much that. It's like, we know that Facebook's collecting this massive amount of data, and we know that we are the product. If you use Facebook, you're part of the product, and Facebook is selling you as a product to somebody else. We know that's how they target ads and all this other stuff. So we know that they're collecting all the data.
That it's not just Facebook.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. Google, Amazon. They're all doing it.
In fact, just an aside. Let me just insert this, Gary, while that Keith mentioned this, that it isn't just Facebook that does it. And in fact, a photographer from the back of the room while Zuckerberg was testifying zoomed in and took a picture of his notes. And on his notes, he had a bulleted list of how he was going to go after Apple. And what he was going to say about Apple and how they do the same thing and even worse.
Well, except they don't, because they sell you hardware and not give away a product. So there's a little difference. I mean, with Apple, I know that the product is the MacBook that I'm doing this podcast on, and my iPhone and other things. With Facebook, there's nothing else. I mean, it is the ad data and the marketing data. That is the product, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't want to get into the Apple thing, but I think part of the issue is more around how Facebook deals with and safeguards the data, and what they do to protect people's privacy, and how invasive that has become. And just a simple example, I never installed and don't use Messenger on my mobile phone. And Facebook Messenger, yeah. And the reason was because I have work contacts there, and I have made a personal choice to not have work overlap with Facebook. There are a couple of friends of mine from different employers that I've had that I am friends with on Facebook, but like in the single digits of people, not like everybody. It's like, there's like 2 or 3 or 4 people who I consider friends, and not, I didn't just add them on Facebook because they were coworkers, they're friends. And if I installed Messenger, then all of a sudden my entire work contacts is uploaded into Facebook. And I didn't want to do that. And I have never given Facebook my phone number. I have never entered my phone number into Facebook. Yet Facebook knows my phone number.
Sure.
And that's because other people used Messenger, opted into it, and they had my phone number. So Facebook is collecting data about people that they're not given a choice. I was never given a choice to not share my phone number because other people did it for me. And to me, that's more of the issue, is that Facebook doesn't allow people to really choose the data that's shared. And then they don't do a good job of safeguarding that data to prevent people that shouldn't have it from getting it. So The election is one thing, and Cambridge Analytica being a foreign company and having that influence an election is, there's all kinds of different laws around that. So there are ties to the election, but how Facebook collects, manages, and gets really invasive about the things that they know about you, that's to me the bigger issue.
Well, I mean, one of the things too we have to keep in mind. I mean, Facebook is the number of things that Facebook can do, and the services that it provides to you as a quote unquote free service is staggering. And what we have to remember is they're not doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. It's a money-making, gajillion-dollar generating enterprise. So where is that gajillion dollars coming from? Well, it's based on all the stuff you like, all the stuff you click. They're looking for ads to get you to go buy stuff. Otherwise, Facebook doesn't exist as it is now.
Yeah. I mean, I think the scarier thing is if you start looking beyond Facebook. Facebook got targeted in this because they got tied up with the Cambridge Analytica thing. And no doubt there's a definite strong user following there. But like I'm using an Android phone now for the first time ever. And one of the things I was told when I switched from iPhone to Android was just embrace the Google-ness that comes on the phone. So I really have done that. But as this topic has come up, I'm really starting to reassess what I'm doing with Google. And I realized, that with this phone, it's tracking not only, what I'm posting to Facebook and all this other stuff, but it's tracking my location, and it presents it back to me as part of my timeline. But it's really kind of interesting. I mean, this phone and Google now know exactly where I go, where I shop, where I've spent time, all this stuff that goes way beyond what Facebook tracks. And we don't think anything of it. We have our documents. We have our documents on here. We have all kinds of other things that Facebook can see some of that stuff, especially if you go from Facebook to Google and back and forth. They can see where you're going, but Google really holds the keys to our lives right now. Now, personally, I'm okay with the trade-off I get for the benefits from that. My phone costs me less than a third of what a new iPhone would cost. The services that come with it that I'm using, I'm getting a benefit out of for using them. So I'm okay with it on the most part. I really am. This is something I reassess often. I have a work friend who is very not into this stuff, but he has a specific reason why he's not with his family. So it makes sense on a personal level to make that decision for yourself. And for me,
witness protection.
Okay. Well, exactly. But for me, I'm here to, I like the benefits I'm getting back out of it. Now, as I look at my children getting more and more involved online, I'm wondering where the benefits are for them yet. And for, but it's, again, I think it ends up being a personal decision on what you're okay with. And personally, like I said, the amount of data I'm sharing, if that ended up being helpful and useful for somebody in an election or data in general to data mine, to send me targeted ads for what it thinks I'm going to do or try to sway me to do something else, I'm okay with it. I really am.
I'm okay with it if I'm okay with it if I opt into it. But with Facebook, there's so many cases where you don't get a choice to opt into it. Like
that's true. Well, what you said too.
My mom is not on Facebook yet. I am 100% sure that Facebook knows exactly who my mom is, and would know how to target ads to her based on all of the data that our family has put in, even though she has made a choice not to be on there.
Yeah,
and that's where I have a problem.
Yeah, and I don't know the way around that though, because it's just like you said. It's not that you chose or didn't choose to share certain information, but other people in their usage of it and in their meaning to connect with you, which you may like or not like, it and inadvertently shares data. So
yeah,
there's something that needs to be addressed.
And let's not kid ourselves either. This is just a personification in a real visual way, a social media platform, of the amount of data that you share about yourself in every walk of life that you have now. When you get in your car, when you walk down the street, when you there's cameras, there are computers, everything everywhere is gathering data on you.
Right.
It's not just a Facebook thing.
That's true.
It's an everywhere.
Credit card companies have had this for years. Banks have had this stuff for years.
Right.
The DMV and the government, they know where you are and where you're going.
Sure.
It's just a matter of is anybody tapping into that data or not?
Yeah.
In this case of New York State, I personally think they're just too stupid to do anything with all the data they have.
Right.
So I feel fairly comfortable with
the
amount of
if the
data.
government gets the data, they won't know what to do with it.
iPhone. Let's go back. I mean, the iPhone has that wonderful thing in previous versions where your fingerprint now opens the phone, and the new iPhones have it where your face opens the phone. Well, guess what? Apple now has a copy of your fingerprints on their servers, and for those of you who have iPhone 10s, they have your face.
They don't have them on their servers. It's encrypted.
That way.
It's encrypted and it's on your device.
So we're told.
It's not a picture of your fingerprint either. It's more or less data off your thumb.
Okay, fine. If that's what you guys think, I'll take your word for it because you know more about the stuff than I would. But we were also told that our data was private by Facebook.
No, we weren't.
Sure, we were.
That's where I say the difference is in knowing what the product is. Like with Apple, you know what the product is. You can hold it in your hand. With Facebook, you are the product. So if you know that you are the product, and Keith's made a really good little monologue there about him choosing to be on Google. And that was his choice. If you go into Facebook, you have to go in knowing that you are the product. So I don't know. I think people knew if they didn't know, they were being naive.
Tell you that everything you put up there was private.
Yeah,
They are very careful to tell you and redo their privacy policies every so often, which because they call it a privacy policy, you are under the impression that some of your stuff is private. But if you actually read those, nothing is private. On there, they may stop certain people from directly accessing your data, but indirect access is where all the stuff happens anyway.
Yeah, and that's kind of where that. Like I said, I'll say it again. That's my beef with Facebook. And even before Cambridge Analytica stuff came out, I had really reduced my usage of Facebook. I had stopped using the app on my phone, started only using it in a incognito window on a computer. And just because I was starting to feel uncomfortable with the amount of data that they were getting, and then all this came out. I just felt okay about my choice, but I do feel like I am missing out on things. Like I feel like my wife tells me stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Things that happen to friends or relatives, and so it is really great to keep in touch with people, especially at a distance. Because you don't.
And that's the product.
Right.
For us, I mean, we are the product for them, but for us, the benefit is the ability to keep in touch easily with friends and family across the world.
Right, and so that's the trade-off.
How soon is this going to be the main source of contact for people who are off-world? I mean, you're not going to have. Yeah, you're not going to have. I mean, if people start heading to Mars, which is not inconceivable in the next 25,
I thought Elon
50
Musk
years.
was already on his way.
Yeah, so I mean, you're not going to have real-time communications with people. So stuff like Facebook is going to be the method.
So we've had a weird thing, and so the last couple of days I've been working at home because I was sick and took a sick day, but and like I said, I haven't been using Facebook, but my wife still does. And she's had 3 things that we have been talking about. Like her and I have had conversations about in the last 2 days that after we had conversations, she got ads targeted to her in Facebook about those topics. And she wasn't using her phone. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's because Facebook has really good algorithms and just understands that those kind of conversations would happen with us, or if they really are truly listening. They say they don't listen, but these were like creepy, weird. Like, how the does Facebook know we were having that conversation? And one of them is our puppy, who's now like 5 months old, has been jumping on the couch, and we're trying to get him to not just jump on the couch. And having conversations about this. She got an ad for couch-like dog beds that are literally dog beds that look like a couch. And it's like, okay, yeah, she posts pictures of the dog on Facebook and Instagram, but we've always posted pictures of the dogs, of our other dogs. And it was just really, it was like, it wasn't just an ad for somebody who likes dogs. It was a very specific ad about a problem we were having an hour before.
I've had things like that happen too, and even weirder, and I don't even know what kind of phenomenon this is, but I can count, dozens of instances where a TV show or a movie that I have thought of, I'm like, boy, I wish that was on, and it's not on Netflix or Amazon, and I'll search for it to see where it's on, and then a couple of months later, all of a sudden, there it is on Netflix or Amazon, that they put it on there. Now I know they're not like listening, what's Rob Dingman want to watch? But
that was months. I mean, this was like minutes.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying that the data collecting targeted, it's like I've been thinking more and more recently about Minority Report, and now since I'm saying this on Google, I'm sure it's going to pop up for me to buy. But the targeted ads in Minority Report, when this is a movie from the early 2000s, that we thought was the craziest, weirdest thing, as you're walking down the street and seeing targeted ads. We're there. I mean, you may not be seeing it.
There.
You may not be seeing. I mean, in places in Europe, this is happening. You may not be seeing it in store windows now when you're walking down the street, but you're sure as hell seeing it on your phone.
It's better than store windows.
That was the whole premise behind NFC being added into phones, was for location-specific ads like that.
Yeah, and let me
certainly one of them.
Let me just take this a step further. I saw an article today, and I know I won't be able to find it, and we need to keep the show moving, but I saw an article today where doctors believe they are going to be able to go into a deceased person's brain that has been murdered and replay the last moments before they died.
Oh, that's like Altered Carbon.
That's freaking That's Minority Report.
Oh,
that's Altered Carbon, which is a fantastic pick.
Was that a pick already?
Has it?
I don't know if that was a pick. I've watched the first episode.
I think
I need to go back and watch some more.
I think I picked that. That was such a good show.
I actually need to watch the first episode again of that show, because there was so much in it that I need to go back and digest it. Anyway,
so good.
So we'll keep an eye on the Facebook stuff and more to come, and I'm sure I'll be seeing ads for Minority Report any day now on Facebook for me. So, guys, you got some picks this week you want to talk about? Gary, what's your pick for this week? Something you want to let everybody know to take a look at?
Sure. I have like a list of picks. Like, I keep finding other things to bump them down. I'm gonna pick one. It's a short series on Netflix that came from the BBC. I've actually watched 2 short BBC series. I guess the BBC does this a lot, where they'll do like a 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 episode show, and that's it. It's done. It's like a one-off. You just do a few episodes and you're done. And Netflix is picking some of those up. And this one is called The Honorable Woman, starring what's her name, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and it's she's basically her and her brother are kind of the main characters. They are children of a Israeli immigrant to the United Kingdom, and their father is murdered in front of them. He is an arms dealer to Israel. That's how he makes his fortune. And they, as adults, he was killed when they were kids. But as adults, they decide to try to work toward reconciliation in the Middle East and kind of change the direction of their company. And this is a story about stuff that happens, and it's it's a very complicated story. I was talking to Gilly about this, and that try to summarize the plot, and she's like, oh yeah, we can do that, and she's like, no, she started, she was like, no, I can't, because it's I don't want to say convoluted, but it's very intricate. There's a lot of things going on, and it deals a lot with Middle East politics and the conflicts between Israel and Palestine. And that's thousands of years of history there, but they're dealing with that and bringing it kind of into a modern age, and there's a lot of technology stuff in there, but it's a really good show. It's not a lightweight thing. You can't kind of like go into it like, let's just kind of sit down and watch something tonight. It's kind of like, no, you got to kind of be ready for it, because there's a lot going on. But it was really good, and it was very compelling and kept me going. Maggie Gyllenhaal is okay. She's not my favorite actress, but she kind of pulled this one off. And there's all these British actors that we're not familiar with as much, so it was really good to see different faces and different things, and kind of a different perspective on doing television than we get in the U.S. So that was one of the things that I really liked about it.
Okay,
it was really
The
cool.
Honorable Woman.
The Honorable Woman. It's on Netflix now, but it's a BBC show. I don't know how long it's going to be on Netflix. I don't think it's going to stay on there forever. It's not a Netflix original. It is something they picked up from BBC.
Awesome. Keith, what's your pick for the week? Your half pint.
Well, it's not often that I come on a beer show and then make a pick that is another beer, but I got to do that tonight. Yesterday, I was at the local supermarket and happened to notice that on and off lately, we've been getting more of the Stone Enjoy buys on this coast. And I think that's because Stone has down in Lake North Carolina or something, they have a brewery on this coast now. But I happened to pick up a 6-pack in cans of Stone's Enjoy buy for $4.20, 18. And boy, is that a great pickup if you're into hops. So Rob, avoid this one. Have you had this one, Gary?
I haven't had 420, but I've had a lot of the other Enjoy buys. So,
well, I'll tell you, after having that for dinner and then having Kubrick's Landing now, I can tell you that Kubrick's Landing is as good as it is. If you want to use that as a basis for the comparison, what you have to do is take a handful of probably the dankest, nastiest, drippy hops that you can and just squeeze that into your Kubrick's Landing, and then you have Enjoy by 420 18 by Stone.
They typically have a nice little bit of malt added in there too.
Yeah, well, it's a double IPA instead of a Kubrick's Landing Simple. So you've got the malt to go with it, which is good, but the hops coming off of that are just silly. Yeah. There's just a silly amount of them. You almost expect to look down and see them floating in the beer still, whole, because that's what it tastes like. It just tastes like somebody literally totally just squeezed the hops right into that beer in their raw, dirty, disgusting hands. Because you got a little bit of funk that comes with it, and it's an experience. If you're a hoppy beer fan, it's an experience, and I can't recommend 420 enough. Get it before 420.
Yeah, I'm going down to Stone in a few weeks.
Are you really?
Yeah, I have to go to San Diego for a work trip, and I'm gonna go to Stone. I'm gonna pick up my their collaboration that I purchased like 4 years ago when they were doing the crowdfunding for their Germany brewery.
Oh, sure.
And they're waiting for me since November, and so I'm going to pick them up and spend a day at Stone. I'm really looking forward to it.
I don't approve of a lot of the Stone changes that Stone's done lately. They've done some really kind of stuff that feels very un-Stone-like with a lot of their fruit beers and stuff now that they're kind of getting into. But boy, those Enjoy buys are just so phenomenal, so consistently good. If you get them near you and you're a hoppy beer fan, even though the 6-packs run crazy prices sometimes, they're worth it. Grab them.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I agree.
All right, so my pick for the week is a film that debuted last week called A Quiet Place. And this has gotten some really great reviews from around the internet and in many places. And lovely Movie Pass got my wife and I in to see A Quiet Place last Saturday. It's a film from John Krasinski, who you know as Jim from The Office, and his wife Emily Blunt. They play a married couple with children in a, I don't know if you call it a post-apocalyptic world, but it's a world that has been overrun by these creatures, these alien-looking creatures. It's very hard to describe them other than to say they are blind. These creatures are completely blind and track their prey with an incredible sense of hearing. So those that have survived, and basically the all society has come to an end, and people are living in this little town in these tiny, close, basically single family units, and they have to strive to not make any noise, or at least not make any noise that's louder than ambient noise around them. So there's no spoilers coming. They suffer some issues in the beginning of the film, and so they're kind of a broken family as the main part of the film opens. And boy, I just love this film. It reminded me of the really strong, good M. Night Shyamalan films of the early 2000s. There's no amazing, outstanding twist. There's some great thriller, chiller moments and some surprises, but it was just such a well done story, especially considering the fact that most of the film, I'd say probably 95% of the film, no one's speaking. There's a lot of communication that's done through sign language, but a large portion of the film is just complete silence and just ambient noise.
That sounds perfect for me. My wife thinks I'm going deaf, so that would be a great movie for me.
It's an amazing film. And John Krasinski and his wife produced, and he wrote the film, or at least collaborated in writing the film, and directed it. And it's great. It's really a great film. I highly recommend it. It's very suspenseful, and it has a lot of heart, and the situations that evolve, because if you think about how much noise we make as a society on a daily basis, or if even a family makes on a daily basis, and how you have to redesign your entire life to not make a sound, even in the most mundane parts of everyday life. It's fantastic. So go see A Quiet Place.
What if you fart in your sleep?
Great question. That doesn't happen in the film, but that's a great question.
Yeah, that seems really like a real hazard.
It was interesting. The one comment I have, the one review I happen to read off of a Twitter friend today said he saw it. It says, "This movie is a nightmare for loud snackers in the theater."
Oh, that's the other thing. Boy, so we went and saw it at a theater where you can order basically dinner, one of those
nice
theaters. So I mean, every single crunch, I heard we were sitting kind of in the middle of the audience, and I heard people in the back like even just shifting in their seats a little bit, and it was really as the movie went on, like 5-10 minutes into the film, where it's literally there's no talking, no nothing the first 15-20 minutes of the film, and you just heard the ambient noise, and the theater just shrink down and down and down because everyone just listening to everybody else. It was pretty funny. That was a thing that happened to me. But really good film. I mean, it's nice to have a thriller that just hits you, and it's a unique concept, but it'll feel familiar to you, if that makes sense. There was a lot of like one of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies. I love Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, but I also really dig Signs, which I know a lot of people liked. But I really liked Signs, and it felt a lot like Signs to me. You know,
from what I read, it makes me think of Tremors every time I
that too.
I think
Yeah,
about it. So
that was a good movie. I like that movie.
Yeah, Tremors was a very underrated movie for the time. It was an interesting concept that was portrayed poorly, but the concept is worth it, and I think this is a kind of a twist on that.
Yeah, and maybe a little Jurassic Park, maybe a little similar.
Well, my daughter's been trying to get me to go see that. She really wants to see it, and I've been kind of like, yeah, okay. I got Movie Pass, so I figured I would go. But now, on Rob's recommendation,
it's really good. Absolutely. All right, so let's go. Let's take it back to Kubrick's Landing and give this sucker a rating. Keith, what say you?
Ooh.
I think this is a really good IPA. If you're avoiding double IPAs for some insane reason, then this is a go-to IPA for you. Nice and hoppy, crisp and clean, easy to approach and drink, but still a lot of hops. So I give this an 8.
Okay, on the hops alone, or?
Well, I think the balance is there. I like the crispness of it. I like the cleanness of it. I think it's pretty easy to really quash. If you really wanted to kill one, you could do it. It's fun. And you couldn't do that with a lot of double IPAs.
All right, Gary. Since you sent this beer, we'll give you the honor of going last. I don't like this beer. I don't like it.
Really?
I do not like it.
Wait, what?
Wait,
what?
Start over.
I don't like this beer. I do not like it. Sam, I am.
I was gonna say, where's the Dr. Seuss reference?
But as I mentioned in my earlier thoughts about the beer, it's one of those where I can see where it's going. The hops blend together nicely. It finishes nicely. It's going to sound kind of oxymoronic to say, but this beer is all hops, but it doesn't overpower you with hops, if that makes sense. It's very crisp, as Keith said, and it finishes really nicely. And I'll give this a 7. I think it's very good. If you like IPAs, you will definitely enjoy this beer. Definitely enjoy this beer if you like IPAs. So 7 for me.
So I do a little game with myself every time I do a show, and I enter the ratings as you go, and I enter your ratings for everybody ahead of time, just to see how close I'm going to be, like based on the first impressions, right? And I nailed it this week. I absolutely nailed it. I had Keith as an 8, I had Rob as a 7 because I knew you would hate it, but would rate it fairly, and I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to line up with Keith and say it's great. It's a good IPA. It's very enjoyable. It's very thirst quenching. It's actually the kind of stronger IPA that you want, like if you're going to hang out at the lake and just want to get shit-faced drunk. If you had a couple of 4-packs, they come in 4-packs. This would do the job because it's a great, like really warm weather drink because it's got so much crispness and like fruity refreshment kind of properties to it because of all those hops.
As much as I love a double IPA to really enjoy, but those tend to be more sippers where something like this on a hot day when you're just relaxing and have nothing else to do, maybe the lawn's have been mowed, gardening's done. You're not going to want to get up and do anything after this, but boy, when the day's done, this is a great thing to kill. You maybe kill one and sip on the next.
Yeah, if you had this before mowing the lawn, you might end up losing a foot or something, right?
Or certainly not staying in the lines, as it were.
Right. Yeah. So it's really good. Like I said, HenHouse is making some really, really good IPAs. They're kind of hitting it out of the park, and
I think it's cool that Petaluma, being not a huge town, is really becoming a nice beer mecca. It's nice to see HenHouse coming back in there.
It's really cool.
To replace some other stuff that's maybe on its way out. So
they're across the street from Lagunitas, which is, Lagunitas kind of set the standard with IPA, right?
Lagunitas?
Yeah, Lagunitas. But if someone says, hey, let's go grab a beer after work, I'm going to go to HenHouse first.
Yeah.
Because they're killing it right now. So
that's a 7.66
6, yeah.
for us. Untapped gives this a 4.02 out of 5, so it's an 8. So we're right in that wheelhouse. So go out and give that a try. Next week, as we wrap up this episode, next week we're going to go over to the Barrel Brothers and another beer that Gary has sent us.
Yeah, I think we're already planned off for next week.
And our next episode.
Yeah. Sometime in the next 21 days.
Yes, we will be doing Dad Pants, a German Pilsner from Barrel Brothers. So you've got yourself at least a week or two to try to find that if you would like to drink along with us as you listen. And we thank you so much for being a part of the show. We have a lot of ways you can get a hold of us. If you just go to PNRShow.com, which is our website, we have all of those listed for you. I won't name them here. But please let us know what you think of the show. Recommend it to folks that enjoy beer and just chatter, and or Facebook. And we will be back with you guys. That's right. We'll be back with you guys soon. All right, Keith, play us out.
I'd rather have lager than live. I'll take a strong stout over strive. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail. So bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than live. I'll take a strong stout over strive.
I listened to this podcast and clicked like.